Hi everyone. Today we'll be doing one thing and one thing only, which is reading my new essay concerning Venezuela and state vampirism. The United States, after months of overtures sharpening their knives for bloodshed again, invaded Venezuela last night. In the process, they kidnapped its leaders under cloak of darkness and establishment apologia, indiscriminately killing Venezuelans in the streets. Process being the key word here, their doing so marks the continuation of a common tactic, one employed by America, the CIA, since World War II, and borrowed repackaged from older ethnocentric forms before that. Regime change for resources, geography as destiny. It's merely capital doing what capital does, vampirism fly by night below, which I want to acknowledge while reflecting on Venezuela's ominous fate as victims of the same hungry machine. Thus, like the sad presaging raven that tolls the sick man's passport in her hollow beak, and in the shadow of the silent night doth shake contagion from her sable wings. Well, the raven himself is hoarse, different play, and I shall blow the whistle. They're eating her, and then they're going to eat me. This isn't goblins or some such poetic displacement of state abuse, but capital par excellence. Capitalism cannot be defeated by force alone. Defeat, transformation, occurs by first acknowledging, however painfully, capital as process through all levels thereof. State predation, aka vampirism, thus rape and lies en masse. You can't outrun it. No amount of Christmas cheer or New Year's resolution able to hide the present state of affairs. Note: concerning Venezuela continues my work on vampirism, starting most recently with Sharing the Blame, or the mild tokenism of FD signifier and foreign man in a foreign land when defending philosophy tube, re liberal Zionism and state vampirism. For the dualistic function of vampirism and all monstrous language in Gothic, read Sharing the Blame. Further links appear inside, whose cited elements contain even more, i.e. tied to my book series, Gothic Communism. Disclaimers. This essay is part of my Sex Positivity book series, which continues after its June 2025 finale and small form content, e.g. essays on and interviews with other sex workers, all of whom I'm credited on my acknowledgements pages and sex work page. This essay doesn't focus on sex work itself, but widespread exploitation, i.e. in a shared predatory system, whoring nature out. Disclaimer regarding essay contents. All opinions are my own, i.e. as part of my research conducted alongside my book series, Gothic Communism. The material within is written, speaks about public figures and popular media for purposes of sex education, satire, transformation, and critique, hence falls under fair use regarding copyright and free speech regarding defamation/obscenity laws. Click here for my entire series disclaimer. Lastly, many of the links on this page lead to my Educated 18 and Up website, where my entire work on Gothic Communism is stored and exhibited. Content warning: racism, genocide and fascism, transphobia, rape and tokenism, vampirism, the Gothic, monsters and themes, e.g. zombies and cannibalism. Meaning, from my definition in regards to rape, to disempower someone or somewhere, a person, culture, or place, in order to harm them, generally through fetishizing and alienizing acts or circumstances, socio-material conditions that target the mind, body, and or spirit. Rape can be of the mind, spirit, body, and or culture, the land or things tied to it during genocide, etc. It can be individual and or on a mass scale. Essay body. Capital is dead labor that, vampire-like, only lives by sucking living labor, and the more labor it sucks. Marx wrote this in 1867, but it obviously holds true today, and not just with Venezuela. In 2023, for example, I wrote, I for one will not stand idly by while the same old proponents of imperialism make the same old tired arguments to serve the elite. These are people's lives, ground into dust by the great machine of capital as having become an even larger and more fearsome monster as time goes on. even if those in the present fall into the state of exception, targeted for termination inside state-manufactured prisons by old ghouls like the American establishment, the Mother Territory, and her allies. We should not be silent as they siphon all life from the land and its peoples, places, and ecosystems. The elite and their supporters need to be exposed for what they are. The great destroyers of our age, the ultimate threat to all life on the planet, purely to enrich the smallest number of persons they can. I did so regarding Israel preying on Palestine with Western help, but the same reality applies to any American victims, past or present. The world is a vampire, insofar as nation-states, i.e., as America defines them, borrowed from older examples, are fundamentally imperialist, and imperialism the highest stage of capitalism. Capital also decays, forever in search of fuel to feed, and feeding with fuel to ward off death, a stopping of profit production, however banal that sounds. So is capital the state a terrible machine, one that sucks this or that to enrich the usual benefactors steering the ship, i.e. mid-capitalist capitalist realism, its predation only haunted by unified worker action, or state shift, aka climate change. Classically, blood means oil, but it likewise involves the drug trade, arms dealers, running guns, sexual slavery, and many other things the state sucks. They are not separate, but walk arm in arm. In turn, the real pirates routinely disguise their deeds, styling as liberators under false flags, the real vampires sucking on state prey, Darvo and obscurantism. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? How about a parasite? The United States and allies, foreign or domestic, aren't just parasites, though. They and capital remain closer to a parasitoid that kills its host, not just the given nation-states it invades in territorial terms, like Venezuela, but the entirety of the land, its people, animals, and environment, i.e., not acting like an animal at all, but a man-made machine, except whereas consent in nature is a non-factor. Parasitoid wasps also cannot rape. They kill for food within a web of life they're fundamentally of. States, by comparison, rape by design, destroying nature at large, i.e., while treating life as alien from another world to invade. They do this to perform capital, moving money through nature while concealing everything as process. The process of exchange and circulation turn money into capital. At the heart of Marx's Kapital is a simple, powerful model. In production and exchange, capitalists combine labor power, machines, and raw material. The resulting commodities are then sold for money. If all goes well, there is a profit, which needs to then be reinvested into yet more labor power, machines, and raw materials. Neither commodities nor money is capital. This circuit becomes capital when money is sunk into commodity production as an ever-expanding cycle. Capitalism is a process in which money flows through nature. The trouble here is that capital supposes infinite expansion, growth, within a finite web of life. A History of the World and 7 Cheap Things. In other words, capital cheapens life to move money through it, effectively as a form of rape concealed. Quote, capitalism achieves profit by moving money through nature. Profit is built on trauma and division, wherein anything that serves profit gentrifies and decays over and over while preying on, raping nature, something to destroy by the state or defend from it and its trifectas, monopolies, etc., using the same threatening aesthetics of power and death, decay and rape. Unquote. Capital, like any rapist, will lie when raping you, will rape you while lying to your face, i.e. before, during, and after the event itself, eating you, the world, alive. In short, states rape because capital rapes, i.e. by design in machine-like ways incomparable to animals, eating all of nature while scapegoating nature. So do states seek profit to enact capital, state biopower demonizing nature by objecting it as monstrous feminine and generally out of revenge. This in turn compounds by demanding more land to invade, but also more lies to back itself and its rape up, meaning through a web-like market thereof. Its theft of different things by force called trade, in neoliberal spheres, a widening of the net through state lies. In turn, the re-liberalizing of the market, neoliberalism, specifically of deregulated markets through the abuse of state power and lies, has led to the predictable expansion of nation-state practices and modern war as spreading across the entire globe, both in theatrical and actual forms, war and genocide have only increased since the so-called economic end of history in 1991, and with the socio-material conditions that enabled them, the usual benefactors have, time and time again, looked the other way or jumped through the same old hoops of capitalist realism. There's nothing but what currently is, and anything else is the end of the world. This model is untenable as is, but the mental gymnastics required to fulfill its continuation must be exhausting. Capitalism alienates, and those who feel nothing for the Palestinians or otherwise stand idly by and say nothing are, in some shape or form, complicit in their annihilation and the annihilations of all peoples living in the global south. This is true now, and it was true back then, history repeating itself at any point through entrenched, criminogenic, socio-material conditions. Firmly in place, it's an abattoir, one designed to conceal itself through open slaughter and lies, something being eaten on a presumed other side. So the Western world is generally a place that testifies to its own traumas by fabricating them, i.e. as markers of sovereignty that remain historically unkind to specific groups that nevertheless survive within them as ghosts of unspeakable events linked to systemic abuse. Oh, the lies people tell themselves to avoid facing facts, even when those facts are staring them in the face, often as metaphors below. A cycle of feeding passed off as nightmare, one that weighs on the brains of the living, i.e. from Marx's 18th Brumaire and love for Gothic language, to George Romero and us, all of the above touching on similar forms of veiled feeding, its dramatic camouflage, dark core spilling apocalyptically outwards, mid-concealment. There's nothing left to hide. No more room in hell. State feeding making us undead through different, horrifying ways. Zombie isn't just for show. It's a label to grant, describing givers, receivers of state force at any point in time, with vampires enthralling their prey while feeding on them. E.g., if some Iraqi has to die so I can have a nice car, then so be it. Dave Madura told me this in the early 20aughts, i.e. after America invaded Afghanistan and re-invaded Iraq. He lied after they lied. A cycle to repeat mid-feeding. In turn, the same vampirism and its undead lobotomy, cannibalism, happened with Bush Sr. and Jr., the Clintons, Obama, et al., using different ways to feed, and those around them lying in ways not dissimilar to Vietnam and Nixon, LBJ and Kennedy following French collapse, and so on. State terrorism calls itself counterterrorism. Ergo, I can only imagine what lies those in with power will tell, i.e. while preying on state victims during and after Venezuela. More of the same, with the same results. War pimps and jailers speaking pretty words, the enablers of Israel are little more than murderers who come to you with smiles. They will destroy the global south and then set their sights at mercenaries on the global north, which is already a police state rife with fascism, as the imperial boomerang sails home. Speaking of, set vampirism affects everything in its wake. The predators and prey, while turning blind eyes, drunk on blood, above. Betrayal is betrayal. This includes open fascists, but also those seemingly more principled, i.e. wearing different disguises while scapegoating whoever to further abjection, which capital demands lie upon lie. E.g. my ongoing 2025 series on different progressives, so-called radicals who, despite their rebellious facade, cannot critique, dialectically materially, capital's vampirism as a fundamental, historical material process, ergo partaking in it themselves. RE, sharing the blame. Exploring FD signifier and foreign man's mild tokenism, enabling philosophy tubes liberal Zionism, therefore their own. Nancy Drew syndrome concerning Rebecca Watson's state genocide apologia with Joe Biden, and raising awareness insofar as bad empanada says one thing and does another, all of them furthering objection in ways my friends and I want to reverse. If only. Remember when he said, "Go to town, Donald?" i.e. regarding U.S. crackdowns on home soil against trans plural people and furries? Well, what about overseas? Say, Venezuela. Accelerationism is fascist because it leads to fascism everywhere, and Donald and company are going to town on foreign soil. Accelerationists like Bad Empanada are fascist in said warmongering because they don't meaningfully challenge it. In fact, they encourage it full stop, i.e. start the fire in one place and it spreads to others, feeding the flames. The same goes for anyone ignoring or otherwise apologizing for the furnace. RE, FD, Watson et al. To one degree or another, e.g. vote for Kamala or else you're racist, but also those who refuse to investigate them refusing to investigate each other. E.g., the Tabernacle making Trump invaded Venezuela for oil while refusing to investigate Bad Empanada. RE Sense Essay 9.25, apologizing for misapplied research, asking for the Tabernacle's help with Bad Empanada. Invasion is par for the course. So are the white lies and blind eyes, whatever those are, and wherever they avert their eyes from looking at. Doing so is just another mask, another lie concealing the larger problem. RE capital sucks, eating itself in all directions to send power as blood upwards. You are what you eat, but also who you feed. State vampirism needs betrayal, token or otherwise, to operate. The liar classically an infiltrator, undercover cop, haunting the venue and the victim, e.g. race betrayal, below. Many traitors think themselves just. To conclude, state vampirism exceeds America alone, i.e. to include its allies enjoying imperial blood spill anywhere and everywhere across all registers of capital state power on and offline. Capitalist realism in action. Capital nation-states are only capable of feeding now, in effect repeating what has already happened, and will again and again and again, because various lies are told and blind eyes turned, upholding denial. i.e. Marx and company failed to stop state vampirism because they weren't gay enough. Their followers apologizing for Lenin, Stalin, and Mao's vampirism alongside American exploitation. Assimilation is poor stewardship, a form of silent segregation that leads to continual death under state hegemony. The state is straight, white, and male, but tokenizes just as well. We must solidarize against capital and its vampirism as a whole, intersecting consciously to achieve tactical unity by challenging globally said hegemony and its unchecked predation. We have more in common with those America invades than the American elite sanctioning said invasions, thus not lying to ourselves and each other about how capital works. From Venezuela to anywhere the elite and their toadies suck blood, objection needs to reverse. It must, lest the entire planet fall prey to state lies and predation. For you, the day bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday. Verily. No exceptions, no blind eyes, or homeless children. Hold your friends accountable, insofar as capital affects us to blinding extremes, i.e. regarding what suffers under such deception and destruction. No man is an island, wrote John Donne, who also wrote The Flea, but I digress. No man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a cloud be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a premonitory were, as well as any manner of thy friends or of thine own were. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. Thank you for listening. My name's Persephone van der Waard. I have my MA in Gothic English Literature, an independent PhD in Gothic Poetics and Ludo-Gothic BDSM, focusing partially on Metroidvania, and I am the author of the multi-volume nonprofit book series Sex Positivity, its art director, sole invigilator, illustrator, and primary editor, the other co-writer, co-editor being Bay Ryan. I'm a male-to-female trans woman, Tolkien and Amazon enthusiast, anti-fascist, atheist and Satanist, polypan kinkster, erotic artist, pornographer, and anarcho-communist. Originally, this blog explored my love of movies when I was cishet. Now I use it to write about the Gothic, horror, but also sex, heavy metal, and video games in a queer way, especially Metroidvania. You can financially support my blog through Ko-fi or Patreon. One is safe for work and the other not safe for work, but the money for either goes towards the same art and essays I produce, which often complement each other. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay safe out there, and good luck.